It seems more was broken at McDonald's than the ice cream machine this weekend. Man, oh man, there was a whole lot of Mick trouble in Vegas this weekend, wasn't there? Hey there, everybody. I'm your man, Todd Brown of That Racing Show. Thanks for dropping by for another segment of That Racing Show's Pit Stop. Well, let's talk about Bubba Wallace and Kyle Larson, because everybody else in the world is today anyway, huh? Yeah. Wasn't even going to do nothing on this, but there's enough people out there who have already covered this, but I saw some things this morning on some different people's videos that I just did not like, and wanted to address a couple things from my opinions on it. So let's just get right into it. Let's take a look at this action coming down the backstretch. Kyle Larson getting a great run. Dives underneath going into 3 and 4. The car starts getting a little bit loose there. Drives up. No contact is made. Bubba just hooks a left, and bam, Calamity takes on. After that, in the incident, taking out Toyota teammate Christopher Bell. Let's just start out by saying this. That was a very dumb move. One of the dumbest moves I've seen in a long time, especially in this car with the way things are. But we're going to get to that in a moment. Going to address every issue here that I'm talking about. But let's get to this part right here where he hops down and just runs out there and starts a McFlurry of shoves going crazy on Kyle Larson, who just he just stands there and takes it like a man and is like, I don't want no part of this. And if you take a look at this video right here, you can see the actual force of this shove. That was not a, hey, Bubba, how you doing? That was a, hey, Bubba's here to do some action. And Kyle Larson just stood there and, man, he took it and, he held himself like a man, his composure level, which was really good to see, because he was holding that helmet in his hand, and that could have been a bad situation if there would have been some other people that would have been in that position right there. But I want to talk about this for a moment because, first of all, we're going to talk about the penalty for just a moment, and I'm going to talk about what I think and what I see and my concerns. Now, of course, this needs to be a severe penalty from NASCAR. Stuff like this does not need to happen in this car, especially with 2 drivers being eliminated this year from concussion injuries, one having to retire for the moment from racing. Every driver out there knows the level of concerns that have been with this car, and to deliberately do something like that on the racetrack, uncalled for, something that does not need to happen at any level, basically just a deliberate crash where you can put somebody in danger. Now, roughing somebody up on the racetrack, doing things like that, that's one thing. This was a deliberate action that was very uncalled for and very unsafe all the way across the board. Now, when I think back to different things that NASCAR has done to penalize people, one of the things that comes out in my mind right now is when Kurt Busch went through everything that he did with the troubles that he had with his girlfriend, a domestic issue that wasn't even part of anything that was going on the racetrack. But NASCAR immediately suspended Kurt, and he went through all kinds of hard times right then. And all along, Kurt was saying, hey, I'm innocent. She's the one who could hurt me. But nobody cared at that point. And he had to go through anger management classes, so many things to get back into it. And then later we find out that he was right all along, because she was basically like some kind of trained assassin or whatever. And now went through all kinds of legal trouble afterwards. And they just put Kurt in a position that he didn't ask for and something that he was innocent of. Now, in this case, there is no innocence across the board. This was a deliberate action, and obviously it needs certain ramifications that stand out. Now, I just said here last week in an episode that I don't like the way NASCAR throws out their things. I think they should have a level penalty phase from the beginning of the year, that if you do this, this is what happens. I don't like to see them be sporadic about things, but I do believe this is a penalty right here that needs to be something that is different from other ones and lays out the groundwork moving forward, that you're not going to do this anymore, because no other drivers need to get injured and nothing like that needs to happen going forward. Now, here comes the part that I want to talk about and discuss. If you have ever followed anything to do with Bubba, you know that it's been a few years back prior to all the other issues that happened with him, but he come out publicly about battling depression, the things that happened to him, and just different aspects of his life that he made public, and how it impacted him, and brought a little bit of mental health awareness to the sport. And if you take a look at different things, that there's a lot of different people in the sport who have went through things like this in different ways that they've hid it, kept it in. It's just part of a manly thing to do, I guess. But there is a history of depression, and I'm not going to consider it a mental health issue for Bubba, but obviously in the classifications, that's what it is. And then with everything that happened prior or after that, with everything that went on, and I'm not going to go into this because so many people have their own views of this, good and bad from both sides. But he was kind of thrown into the limelight through a lot of things over the last couple years. That some of it, yes, obviously he brought himself into it. Other parts, he was just put on a platform that I don't personally think that he wanted to be on, but he was put there. And how he handled it, how everybody views it, that's one thing that, again, I'm not going to comment on that. But I personally have got to be around Bubba at different times on Coca-Cola print shoots in the past when I've worked with him. And the one thing about Bubba is he was always happy. He was joyful, joking, smiling, and just an upbeat type guy. And if you think back to, back during the rain delays in the past where he was throwing football with the fans and everything, everybody was having a good time with him. He was just a very personable person. Now, the last couple of years, I've seen maybe more of an emotional guy again. Things that are coming out, people crack on him at different times because he gets to the point of tears. He puts a lot of pressure on himself, obviously, because, you got to face it, you got to look at it. I think in his own mind, he feels like he carries a certain group of racers and fans and everything else on his shoulders that he's going to do what he needs to do to make himself the best, and he puts a lot of pressure on himself. And I think the pressure of being driving for Michael Jordan, this whole situation, maybe it's put a little too much on him, and maybe it's causing his gut instincts and reactions that are not only dangerous to other drivers out there, but dangerous to himself. Because if you look at it, at that point when he hooked the left yesterday, that wasn't only putting Kyle Larson in danger, he put himself in physical danger. He put his livelihood in danger and everything else, just off a gut instinct that, a lot of drivers do different things, but that right there was a seriously dangerous move at those speeds, especially in this car where so many drivers have had their concerns about the injuries from the rear impacts and everything else going on with it. He basically threw his own life to the curb at that moment to make a statement that I don't think was healthy. So that's why I question, and I do think that NASCAR needs to park him. I think for Bubba's own stability, and it's just speculation. There could be nothing wrong at all or anything else. But there could be something there that's just put a little bit pressure on him, that the other depression and things have come back to a point that he's trying to hold in, because he displayed it and said it prior that he had a hard time holding it in, but he did. And maybe it's come to the point that it needs to be a focus, because you see so many of these drivers out there right now. If you look at the comments from Ryan Blaney yesterday, he's just ready to run over everybody. There's a lot of different guys that are just frustrated with the way this year's gone through the playoffs and everything else. And when you take somebody who's very emotional like Bubba, there could be situations there that for his own health and for every other driver out there need to be addressed. And maybe some time away to focus on some stuff like this would be good for him, for the sport, and for every driver out there. No different than with Dale Jr. with the concussions, because it was something that wasn't in the forefront until Jr. come out and said, hey, I'm not driving like this. And so many drivers now are paying attention to it. And you got to look at it. They got a lot of pressures, and they do. They take a lot of hits. There's a lot of different things that happen to their head, inside in the helmet, the seats, everything. They do their job as best they can, but there's still impacts that affect them. So I think all that needs to come to the forefront. And I think NASCAR, it's your job right now to be the ones to say, hey, we need to look at this better, and not only focus and concentrate on the car, but our drivers as well, and make sure that their health and safety and their mental health is in check. Because, come on, we just don't need stuff like this happening. And hopefully it won't happen again. But I do generally. I'm a person that I have no hatred for any driver out there. I completely admire their passions, because being a wheel man one time with myself, I know what it is, and it's something that you love so much, and you make some crazy moves at times, but there's times that I think there's some other things that just need to be looked at, because it's not a normal move to put yourself in that much danger like that. So I hope NASCAR does the right thing to address all this stuff and to to all the haters out there, I don't care for what driver it is, but some of the things I saw by some people on YouTube channels this morning that are people that are not even involved in racing that had some very negative things to say, that you're stoking the fire more of stuff like this. First of all, you need to be quiet about that. Stick to what you know and report on what you know. Second of all, I promise you probably wouldn't say that to Bubba's face if you were in front of him. And man, this is racing. I love this sport, as I always say, and I will defend it, and I will talk about it the way that I feel it needs to be talked about from my own personal views or my opinions. I always welcome your comments, and I hope that you kick in with some here. But again, I'm not going to listen to a bunch of negative hate, stuff like that, because that's not why I'm here. So anyways, got a bunch of great things happening this week. Hopefully a lot of fun coming for you guys. So keep checking out everything that we got going on. And as always, we'll see you at the checkered flag.